Today, I'm with Tyshaun, a man I really admire and respect. He's been through a lot, and he's gotten to a really good place in his life, and I think he has a lot to share with people, and his story is very powerful. How you doing? How you doing, Ty?
Hey, what's going on, Marshall? What's good with you, man?
Just happy to be here. So tell me a little bit about like your story and what happened in your life to bring you where you are now.
Oh, man, I don't know. Well, I was going to say, man, I don't think we got enough film for this. You know what I mean? But I'll try to do my best to keep things as poignant as possible. So I grew up. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, born and raised in all over Boston. And actually, my mom was, I call like a military mother, right, in the city, because we moved every year. So I kind of lived everywhere around Dorchester, Roxbury, and Mattapan. When I was growing up, I grew up, in a rough household with, alcoholics and, drug dealers and, any and everything you could think about living an impoverished urban lifestyle. I kind of was engaged in that as a child, as 1-2-year-old. You know what I mean? It's like, beer being put in your bottle, stuff like that. I was kind of really badly abused as a child, mentally and physically. I was like busted upside my head with irons and beat with broomsticks upside my head, picked up, thrown down flights of stairs. I was told I was going to be anybody. I was going to be like, my father who wasn't around. He was an alcoholic. I remember going and watching him getting beat up in the streets and stuff like that, which was pretty damaging. But I also was taught a lot of good stuff. I was taught how to survive, how to, I grew up kind of like a community kid, and they say it takes a village to raise a child. So as a youth, I would, go to different community centers and play basketball from all around Boston. I'd be at the Dorchester YMCA, Roxbury YMCA, Hyde Park YMCA, Hyde Park Muni, Roxbury Boys and Girls Club, the Matterhorn School, the Shelbourne. I just kind of played basketball everywhere. It's like me and my boys, we used to travel everywhere at different basketball courts and just play ball all day. And throughout that, I had a lot of community mentors, men that were, kind of like that would take me under the wing and say, Ty, it keep me positive. However, growing up in the hood where things are no good, stuff still kind of got caught up with me. I did 2.5 years in juvenile detention, DYS, for a crime I didn't commit. And this was my my introduction into the carceral system. And they told me, I had psychologists when I went. I was in Westboro Secure Treatment. I remember I was like 15, 16 years old, and I had psychologists, and they would say, well, we're here to help you. We're here to give you treatment. We're here to help you, prevent you from getting back into to coming back to prison, because statistics show, especially for a young black man, that if you started off in juvenile detention, you were going to prison next. You're going to graduate. And so they didn't help me because I was like, I didn't do the crime and whatever. I was looking for them, as support. But they were like, if you don't do the crime, we're going to commit you until you're 21, So if you don't admit that you did the crime. So in groups, I had to do my like 18 months or a year, however long I was in that facility. I had to do that lying. And so at this time also, that was my first introduction into a failed system. All right.
All right, let's take it upstairs. Come on. All right, so we're going to take this upstairs with some privacy. You ready? All right, so we're going to move this upstairs. Yeah. This is what real life does, Tyshaun. It changes moment by moment.
Changes moment by moment, man.
You want to sit here?
It's just yeah, like we can sit here.
Move that apron.
Oops.
Yeah, so we had a little interlude there. Oh. Oh. All right, cool.
So being inside that Westboro was my first introduction into a flawed system, and so, but I got out, and nonetheless, you know, I always wanted to do great, always wanted to do big things, always had big dreams and stuff like that. So when I got out, I ended up not being able to go to high school because I didn't fit the curriculum. So I went to an alternative school for bad kids, and I did good. You know, I utilized my resources there. I stayed connected with my guidance counselors and some of the teachers there, and I ended up taking my SAT courses extra. I did it on my own actually, but I went and took the SAT courses. I ended up working at the Strand Theater, doing theater. I did a program for troubled youth called Shakespeare and Company. I ended up doing that. I ended up working at McDonald's. So I stayed active. I stayed busy. And, you know, I ended up making phone calls, called the admissions guidance counselor to my college, which was in North Carolina Central University. I ended up calling them, and I you know, end up visiting the school. I end up getting scholarship money from Private Industry Council, in which I, you know, kind of just did what I was supposed to do and followed up, you know, and I did what I was supposed to do. I followed up with them, and I ended up going to college. I filled out my own financial aid and everything. My mom still gets me to this day because I, you know, signed her name and all that, so she's really upset about that one. You know, when I got to college, I became, all my people were smoking weed and stuff like that, you know, because I had grown up in like an alcoholic environment. I ended up drinking, and I liked drinking, and I ended up selling liquor out my dorm rooms and stuff like that, and I ended up, you know, I just kept drinking. And you know, I didn't drink. It wasn't progressive. I mean, it was progressive, but I was still good. I was still able to maintain, still able to do my classes and stuff like that. And then as I got more involved in school, I kind of put the alcohol down. Was doing like community outreach work, and I won a community service award scholarship, because I was so much, you know, active in college activities. You know, I was like the chairman for the Student Government Association. I was a campus DJ. I was a campus staff writer. I did plays. I joined the community-based organizations, organizations, and we did, you know, outreach and stuff like that in the community, feeding people and getting people to sign up to vote and all that other stuff. So I did a lot when I was in college, and you know, that carried me through. But then I'd go home in the summertime. When I went home in the summertime, I was back in the hood. I was back with my homeboys, and you know, I would be out, you know, kind of like in the street trying to hustle and sell drugs and still drinking and stuff. So that caught up to me, that lifestyle, going back and forth to Boston and to school, doing good in school. Then being a knucklehead, you know, in the summertime, I ended up dropping out of school. I ended up dropping out of school, and then I ended up going to Hesse College in New Hampshire. When I went to Hesse College in New Hampshire, I got straight Fs because this is where my alcohol addiction really began to pick up. And so instead of going to school, I would go to work at Labor Ready, get paid, and then I would go. I would use that money to buy me a whole lot of liquor. And then I'd be drunk. I wouldn't go to class and all this other stuff. So I ended up flunking out of there. I ended up working at a wine restaurant. You kind of go figure, right? I ended up working at a wine restaurant, and I ended up, then I ended up flunking out. And then I left and went back down to North Carolina, and I was fortunate enough to be smart enough to get back into school. I did what I had to do, and I graduated.
So you kept pushing for that, like that education. You had that drive to keep going.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, I'm trying to, like tell my story and talk about the tragedy, but also how I made it through. A lot of times, you know what I mean? Like I made it through. I had the tragedy like being locked up. I had the tragedy like being a child of ACEs, which is our birth childhood experiences, right? I had those tragedies, but I made it through by connecting to people in the community. I made it through by listening to my guidance counselors, by doing what they told me to do. They said go down to the private industry council. I went down to the private industry council. So so there's always like support out there. You just have to be able to open your ears up, your mind up to be able to connect and get those resources. You know what I mean? So more tragedy hit is after I graduated, because I ended up going back to school. Once again, I had like 3 or 4 mentors and counselors when I was in college. So they helped me out a lot. And, although my addiction, alcohol was progressing, I still ended up graduating. Unfortunately, after I graduated college, under the influence of my addiction, I ended up going to prison. I went to prison in North Carolina, and I did 2.5 years down there. And so when I got out of prison, I ended up going full-fledged into my active addiction, and I was homeless in the street for about 15, 20 years, between traveling up and down the East Coast, just living in the streets. I was in Atlanta, I was in Virginia, I was in New York, Boston, back to New Hampshire. I was just traveling up and down, drinking and, kind of just destroying my life. My last binge run, I was tore up, like literally tore up from the floor up. I literally had pneumonia. My hands, I was literally frostbitten, and I literally had no shoes on my feet in the middle of the wintertime with two like big heavy coats on that I had took out the trash can in Grove Hall in Boston, and I ended up going to Boston to Cab Detox, which is no longer there anymore. I ended up going to Cab, and when I went to Cab, I ended up sticking to my script. That's when I said I was going to stick to my script and do my recovery, not pass goal, not collect $200. I was just going to keep myself in a stable environment so I could win, So I ended up going through the detox. I ended up going to the Boston Rescue Mission after my detox, and I stayed there. It was like a program there, program/shelter in Boston. So I ended up going to the Boston Rescue Mission. I stayed there in program for a year, doing what I got to do, utilizing my resources, and then I ended up getting a job at Boston, at the Boston Rescue Mission. So I was like a peer counselor. So I was, So once I became a peer counselor, I ended up going to Boston Urban College and getting a certificate in human services. I connected to this organization called Impact. They helped me with my resume and stuff like that, finding a better job. And then I end up, filling out all my housing applications. I fill out housing applications for everywhere. I didn't just put it in 1 or 2. I put housing applications everywhere, and I connected with everybody that I knew that was doing housing. So I had about 4 or 5 housing caseworkers. No jokes aside. Everything I did like 4 or 5 different caseworkers. You know, I had caseworkers for medical, Boston Medical Center, the Carbon Square Community Health Center. I did everything I did. I just made sure that I connected myself with enough people that was in position to help me to become successful. And that's how I mark my success to this day. Not that I was the brightest, sharpest knife in the drawer, but I knew how to kind of like utilize people to support me. When I went to court, I would, you know, ask people to come and support and to represent me rather than trying to represent myself, stuff like that. So I end up Urban College, getting a certificate in human services that I ended up working at Boston. I was at the Kingston House, and then I went to Boston Healthcare for the Homeless. I did a street outreach internship down there, and then from there, I ended up working with Parry, which is the Police Assisted Addiction Recovery Initiative, and doing work with AmeriCorps. And I worked with them to do recovery coaches. So what we did was what's called an arrest diversion program, in which instead of people getting locked up for having paraphernalia, I would work with the Boston Police Department, and we'll get the people into treatment, right? So it was a arrest diversion program.
How do you feel like that was like successful? Was that with the people?
Well, it was successful because you know, if you say like one person, you get like one person in the treatment, and you know whatever you say, you get one person in treatment, you can save their life for a day. You know what I mean? Whether they stay there or not, regardless, it's that they made it through that day, and that was, for me, that was like the purpose of doing it, is to help people to just to make it. You know what I mean? And because you never know, I had a lot of people that because when I worked with Parry, it was to support me to get my recovery coach certification so I could be a certified addiction recovery coach. And so when the recovery coaching, it helped me to stay out in front of people, to meet people where they're at, to support them, and to be able to help lead, guide, and navigate them as according to what they needed. You know what I mean? So I was able to fill in a gap for them, where they would probably be arrested for having paraphernalia because they was loud and crazy, and they would get a you know, like a something simple. They'll get arrested for what you call that when you're being loud in public.
Disturbing the peace.
Disturbing the peace. They'll get arrested for disturbing the peace because the police didn't know what to do with them under their addiction, right? So they arrest them for disturbing the peace. They'll arrest them for loitering. They'll arrest them and charge them with a sex crime for going in the bushes and you know, kind of, you know, using the bathroom, peeing. You know what I mean? So instead of them getting arrested for stupid offenses and, you know, this stuff carrying over, they're paying fines and all this other stuff, I would be able to bridge and stand in that gap and get them into treatment.
Like an intervention, like you're intervening in the behavior and trying to get them some help.
Right. And I liked it because it was up in your face, it was real, it was raw, and you know, it was in the street, and it was, you know, connected to those people that people, you know, kind of like, you know, walk over and you know, disrespect it. So I liked it. So from Parry, I did the internship. I did Parry, Boston Cab. I ended up working at Boston Medical Center as a recovery coach. And not only that, but I was also doing a research on recovery coach. And a lot of it was, you know, kind of supporting people of color and helping them break barriers into getting into treatment, connecting with wraparound services, and getting them the support that they need. So I was able to be highly effective in that, helping people with PrEP, which is a little blue pill people take to prevent them from getting HIV. and I was helping, people that inject opioids to utilize the PrEP. So while they inject the opioids, they won't get contact HIV because sharing needles and stuff like that. So those two studies that I did were highly effective. And then I just kind of figured, like, I got a college degree. Um, I've been in and out I skipped a lot of that, but I've been in and out of like maybe 20, 30 treatment programs in my span of 15, 20 years being in the street. So I kind of knew the system. I knew what to expect from the system, and I felt like I could do more. I could do more for people. So instead of doing direct care work, I say, well, let me try to expand and get into systems type of work. And so I was fortunate to end up getting a job with the state doing community engagement and working with community-based organizations that have a dynamic impact in the community, but don't get and receive the services that the government has available to them. So what I try to do is I sit down, I talk with them, I provide technical assistance, I let them know what's available, I bring them into the fold, I educate them, these are faith-based organizations, tribal serving, indigenous-based organizations, and just regular moms and pops organizations that are working to help and support people.
So what do you see like going on like from a ground level with these organizations and bringing services to the people that are kind of caught in like this in the street with the addiction and caught in this cycle?
People are doing it, man. People been doing it. Like church has been, giving people food. And when I was in North Carolina, I was actually in 2 faith-based treatment facilities. And before I even went to prison, I stayed in the faith-based treatment facility for 9 months. And I used to go out and I did a lot of fundraising. They had car wash there, so we would wash cars. We would go to church. We would get, kind of like curriculum on, loving and accepting yourself and things like that. And so, organizations have been, kind of like working to kind of help and support people. The problem is that they really need funding. It takes funding to do that. It takes funding. And so these organizations, if they don't have the funding to be able to, provide socks and other toiletries like that, then it's a problem.
Okay. So like you've done a lot of amazing things, and like anytime I talk to you, like the conversation's always real powerful, and you have a lot of really good ideas. What do you think, like right now, what do you think would be like some good stuff that society could do to kind of improve this addiction crisis that we're seeing?
All right, so let's break this down. What's some stuff that society can do, and what's some stuff that the person that is addicted can do?
All right.
Because it's a two-way street. I mean, not two-way street. It's both are responsible. You know what I mean? Both are responsible. So society, I know, needs to do a better job in supporting people that have addiction. They need to do a better job in providing them with the resources and the funding, and they actually need to do a better job in being consistent with their services. You know what I mean? So a lot of times organizations are kind of independent and they're all striving and thriving, striving for money. They're all striving for money, and as a result of the competition for money and the need and all that, people in that American business strife, right? The people that need the support, they're struggling. So this is when you don't get the right staff workers. You don't get the right staff workers. Neither can you train them up right. because you don't have the funding to do so. You don't have the funding to retain staff workers. You don't have the money to retain staff workers, good quality staff workers. This is where you get, organizations to now work together to kind of like navigate people through their systems. So one of the things we talk about is a wellness recovery oriented systems of care, right? Which is a kind of like an ecosystem of organizations working together to support the individual along their system navigation, right? So this is like, let's say the DTA, which is Department of Transitional Assistance, where people get food stamps and stuff like that, right? It's like the DTA working with housing, and the housing working with the treatment center, and the treatment center working with the public health, the clinic, and they're all in collaboration together so that when a person needs resources, they can get the resources that they need. The contrast to that, the flip to that, is when you have like people coming out of prison or reentry, when you don't have like they don't have like birth certificates, IDs, and things like that, and they need to get a birth certificate, ID, in order to get a job, but they don't have a mailing address, so they can't get a birth certificate or ID without a mailing address, and they get kind of they get kind of frustrated because the system is not working together to support them. So that's what a wellness recovery oriented system of care does. It connects all these different systems together to support the individual, so a person can get, they can get connected through.
So that's that's the first I've ever heard of that. Like, are they doing that now?
Yeah. Well, it's there's a lot being done about it now. There's a lot that needs to be done, because once again, we live in America where business it's all business. First of all, it's all business, and we can't, organizations that can't survive without making money. Whether it's a nonprofit, for-profit organization, everything takes money. So it's in a sense it's all good, but at the same time, that money the need to get that money can also create barriers, that because systems public health organizations are striving to keep their doors open, so they that competition. I don't know, man. I got sidetracked a little bit.
The individual. So that's society. What about the individual?
Yeah. Well, the individual, man. That's why I was glad to tell like the first half of my story. And how I work to utilize my resources and navigate and get the help that I need. The individual has to ask for help, be willing to accept that help, and be willing to go through the challenges that it takes in order for them to get better. We could provide all the resources for people. We could be out there, giving people food, giving them socks. But if the individual is unwilling to take the initiative to do what they have to do, then they're gonna fail. They're gonna fail. A lot of my recovery story is, I was tore up from the floor. I was jacked up. I was messed up. I literally came up off the concrete, but I literally listened, stuck to the script. I literally asked questions. I literally asked for, listen to people. I literally got all the support that I can get so that I could be successful. So, people have a responsibility. This is my opinion, but people have a responsibility in their own recovery process as well.
You gotta put work in. You gotta put work in to make it work.
Yeah, and it'll work if you work it. It'll work if you work it. There's another level of that I think it'd be important to discuss, especially for someone that has done everything right within the system to be a citizen, Now, 15, 20 years of being a non-citizen, but to be a citizen, paying taxes and stuff like that, there's some other barriers in that the system creates these barriers. So for me, so when I got the job at the Boston Rescue Mission, and I finally got housing. I was paying like $25 a month, and this was like, I don't know. I was paying like $25 a month. I probably paid that for about 1 or 2 months, and then I ended up getting a job at Boston Cab. I was making a little bit more money, so that went from $25 to like $200, let's say. But I was still receiving food stamps. I was still receiving the other money that you get for disability. You know what I mean? And I was still receiving that, and so I wanted to get off of that. So I told him, I don't want that no more. I'll just do this, and I got my house. I got a housing voucher. So I got what's called an MRVP voucher, which was a voucher for me to just stay in that same place. And it was up to like $900 a month, right, that I would get. So I got that voucher, and then I ended up getting a job at Boston Medical Center. So I went straight, and this is like in the space of like 4 months. It's like everything happened quick, right? So when I got the job at Boston Medical Center, I went from paying $236 a month to paying $900 a month, which was at the time, which was market rent for a single room with 40 people inside of my same building, sharing bathrooms and stuff like that. And so I was like, man, this is crazy. And so what happened was, when I became a recovery coach, I had a lot of grief, a lot of deaths, a lot of people were dying in my family. And not only that, but my recoveries were dying. And so I ended up falling like 1 or 2 months behind in rent. Now, mind you, the place I was staying was like 40 people. Like I said, everybody's still paying 10 to 20, but I'm paying the market value. So I ended up falling behind like 2 or 3 months. At the same time, when I got my place and I got the job at Boston Medical, then they end up garnishing my wages, because once you start making more money, more problems, they end up garnishing my wages for student financial aid. So now I got people dying. I got this rent that just went from like over $800 that just skyrocketed on me, and I have my wages were being garnished. So I end up getting into a place where I couldn't utilize my resources anymore, because I fit this gap where they didn't have any resources that were available for me. Like I had to be, going back into the street and be poor and suck again, you know what I mean? And in order for them to get any, like the RAF program or something like that, in order for me to get any supportive services. So what happened was I ended up going to court, and I was fortunate to get, the legal advocates or whatever that was there, and they ended up supporting me and connected to the RAF program, and they ended up helping me pay half my bill, and I worked the other half of my arrearage rent off. What was shocking about it was the same system that was there to support me to overcome homelessness was the same system that was kind of trapping me in. But,
Okay.
Along with that, I was going to court for, they said I intentionally defrauded the Department of Food Stamps. They said I intentionally defrauded them, because the day I got food stamps, the next day I had a scratch ticket for $1,000. And so I didn't report that I hit the scratch ticket for $1,000. I didn't know I had to report it, first of all. But 6 months later, after that, I didn't know. Then 6 months later, they said, "Well, you intentionally defrauded the system. We're taking all your money." And so I ended up having to pay that $900 back, or whatever that they said I took. I mean, that I defrauded the system for not reporting my that I hit the $1,000 scratch ticket. So I was kind of bombarded by the system in all sides, and then as a result of that, I didn't have any room to thrive. Like I couldn't save money. You know, I'm still struggling right now with saving money and doing things because I always, every time I come up, I'm working to do the right thing. There's always some systemic issue coming against me saying that, oh, you owe money for this. And I'm like, I don't even know nothing about it. But anyway, I'll go on my little rant, but I'll stop.
Well, it's expensive to live today. Like I keep coming across like the hike in property values and rentals, and like, you know, it's just really expensive to live nowadays. Everybody's living paycheck to paycheck.
Well, yeah, but my point, I guess my point in saying all that is because we create this system that say, okay, well, we're going to get you housing. We're going to get you housing. We're going to support you with housing. But then when you start doing the right thing to try to be independent, to try to live and be independent, it's the same system that keeps you down. Like the system wasn't designed for you to thrive, to be independent. You know what I mean? Like if you get, like for me, the MRV voucher that I had, I wasn't getting Section 8 off of that. I wasn't getting Section 8 off of that. And then once I reached a certain, I got to a certain job level, which is, let's say, $40,000.
Okay.
Right? Let's say I was just making $40,000. I got to a $40,000 cap there. Then I couldn't get any other resources. I couldn't get any supportive services to help me pay back any arrearage rent. I didn't qualify. I didn't meet any, you know. And then so
now you're out of your housing, and then you don't have enough money to get a nice apartment.
Right. So now I'm paying market rent, and I don't have enough money to get a nice apartment. You follow me? Like I can't save money. Mind you, I'm paying $900. That's market rent for the voucher. I'm paying $1,000 actually. It's $1,000 because they raised it. Right. I'm paying $1,000. And I'm trying to save money so I can get my own 1-bedroom apartment. I'm paying $1,000 inside of this place with, like I said, with 40 people shooting up and, you know, doing all types of stuff, peeing all over the toilet seat in the morning, all types of stuff. And, you know, so I'm trying to move on, but I can't move on because I have all this other systemic conflict. Like the DTA came at me twice. You know what I'm saying? Like they came at me twice, and the other time they said that when I got the job at the Boston Rescue Mission, I was also getting food stamps. And they said that I didn't report that I had an income, right? But mind you, in order for me I had to stay on the food stamps. I had to meet with a DTA case manager like once a month. So, and I had to report all my income. On top of that, I had to report that I was looking for jobs. But then they still were saying, no, you didn't report your income. The case manager that I had didn't work there anymore.
So they didn't even put it down there.
So now I'm back in court again, fighting the system again. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just ongoing.
So like, you've come a long way, man. Like I see the stuff you do. Like the work you do is amazing. You're always doing, you know, you got like new opportunities coming down the pipeline. You're really smart. What's on the horizon for you? Like what's in store for your future? What are your plans?
I'm still trying to figure out a way to thrive, man. I'm still trying to figure out a way how to you know, kind of like, so I probably got some business plans, want to, you know, kind of start my own business, you know what I mean?
In like social service or?
But yeah, probably, you know, whatever, man, you know, maybe I'll start my own recovery coaching organization or.
Oh, give me a job. Yeah. I don't even have a job.
But we talk about that, man. You keep doing what you're doing. People need to hear this stuff, man. They need to know, you know, that, you know, the real life issues that are affecting people that are trying to that are in the street, man, and they need to know, the conflicts within the systems. You know what I mean? I do want to say this though, before I continue to talk about my plans, is that there are issues within the systems, right? But there are also, and I do want to reiterate that there's also a lot of resources. You know what I mean? Like, if we as people utilize the system for what they're for, which is to provide temporary support and not temporary support, and then we need education on how to thrive outside of the system. Because I that's one thing I can say. I wasn't educated on, thriving outside the system. I listened to everybody in the system and say do the right thing, and I only could get to a certain plateau. You know what I mean? A certain peak, a certain place within the system. Then the system's not built for you anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So helping people kind of, once they get to a certain place in the system where they're stable and secure, teaching them how to make that transition so they no longer have to live off of the system.
Teaching them to where they no longer have to live off the system. That's what we need: financial security, financial literacy, stuff like that. Because, like I said, the system will keep you. The system is designed to help people, but it's also designed to maintain itself. That's how it is. It's like that's what system is. The system got to support itself. You know what I mean? So it's designed.
So they're not doing enough work to kind of help people get out of that.
No. And in my opinion, this is my cold opinion on that. They're not supposed to. You know what I mean? The system, anybody that works in systems like the government, anything like that, is not supposed to teach you private enterprise. You know what I mean? You got to learn that on your own. You know what I mean? Like they can provide a pathway for it, but the system's not built for you to learn private enterprise. The system is built for you to learn, is to support you, like on the level that it can support you. I don't know how to best to say that. You know what I mean? Like, it's built. If you need to get food stamps, you need food, the system is built to provide you with just enough food. If you need a job, the system is built to provide you with a job that's just good enough for you to be able to maintain. If you need a house, the system is good enough to provide you with enough funding that's good enough for you to pay that rent. You know what I mean? But the system's not built to say, okay, well, this other stuff that you can have, like a boat, you know what I mean? Like a boat or a car that doesn't break down every year, you know what I mean? Like, the system's not designed to help support you do that.
Okay. And what about you? You got anything else to share, like a message or anything that you want to share with people that you think's important?
Never give up, man. Never give up. Individuals, kind of like press to the pressure. That's why I was always taught, you got to press to the pressure. You don't never give up. They always say to me, and I think it was Robert Schuller, I read a book, said that tough times don't last, but tough people do. And your ability to kind of like plan your life out or get you a script, be productive. That's the message right there, right? When I started my recovery process wasn't for me to attend NAA groups. It wasn't for me to, kind of listen to counselors and case managers and all that. I did my thing to be productive. I said, you know what? All I got to do is produce. If I produce, then I can see the evidence that I am on my recovery pathway. You know what I mean? Like, if I get up every morning, if I take a shower, if I attend groups, if I get out there, look for jobs, if I get out there and I put in all my housing applications, if I work to connect to the resources that I need, if I'm being productive, then I will get the results that I need eventually.
All right. Well, listen, Ty, thank you so much. It's always, and like, this is the first time we actually met in person. So like, I'm really happy to meet you in person.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I hope I gave people enough information, man. I didn't prepare. I wanted to be authentic as possible, but it's like it's levels and avenues and different pathways we could have walked down in this entire conversation, but I just try to tap on things, you know what I mean?
Well, we can always do another interview too, you know, like this is like, this whole project's just raw and real, you know, like sometimes we get kicked out of the spot, come upstairs, you know, like this is real life, man. And like, that's what I think this world needs, a little bit more real life. And, you know, you're a person that's strived, and you've accomplished a lot. And I can confidently say you're one of the smartest people I know. And you know what I mean? But I don't know.
I still don't get that. but I, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's another thing that says, how about I accept, I allow, I deserve. I always say, I think I say, I believe, I allow, I deserve. So I'm going to allow the compliment. You know what I mean? I ain't going to fight it, but I still don't get it.
Well, I can explain it. Like it's like you learn well. Like you know what I mean? You're smart. You're quick to learn things. So you have educational smarts, but you got street smarts, right? And like a lot of people don't have those two levels. Like they're missing aspects, but you're well-rounded, you know? And like, so our conversations are always like pretty deep, and like a lot of, you know, I get a lot of knowledge from it, you know, it's like you know, and I'm sure you get knowledge from me. So like there's like an interchange there that I really enjoy.
Right. And, you know, that comes from, like I said, I do a lot of repetition, right? Repetition is the mother of all skills. Actually, because I don't think I'm that smart, right? I do a lot of repetition. While you were talking, while you were saying that, you know, when I went to college, I took 22 credit hours, right? So I had to take an extra reading course that I wasn't getting any credits for. So I had to do that. So basically, you know, it's like, if you know where you're lacking at, you go the extra mile on it. You know what I mean? You get the extra support that you need. And that's kind of like what I've done. And another thing is that as soon as new information is learned, new information has got to be immediately applied. You don't need to be the sharpest knife in the drawer to apply the information that you've learned. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people mistake knowledge and all that stuff, you know, like education and all that, right? They mistake that for practical experience. Like this practical application. It's people that apply different principles in life that are the most successful, like going the extra mile. That'll make you look like a genius. You know what I mean? If you want to get a job, you work the law of averages, right? The more applications you put in, the closer you are to getting a job, right? And then if you put in abundance of applications, next thing you know, you got an abundance of options to choose from. So rather you being the person that's needing the job, you actually got options to say which job you want to go to, right? That's not book smarts. That's just, you know, going hard and setting yourself up to be successful. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that you learn from experience through the school of hard knocks, from being knocked down and figuring out how you got to get back up. When we talk about people that are out on the street panhandling and asking for money, well, the quickest way to get anything you want in life is to ask for it. The more people you ask, if you need $1, you got to ask 20 people, and then eventually someone's going to give you $1. You ask 40 people, now you got $2. You see what I'm saying? It's the principles that, for me, it's the principles that matter more than the education or anything like that.
Yeah, and like that's applicable, like street smarts, right? Which flows over into educational smarts. And one thing I say, like, that kind of falls in line with that is, like, there's two types of opportunity. Sometimes opportunity just comes. It just comes to you, right? But then you can make opportunity. So you got to do both. Some people just expect it to come. You know what I mean? Sometimes it just takes too long, or you know, you're gonna die waiting.
Right.
But you can also, you know, you can make opportunity. Just like you said, you got to fill out all those applications. So if the opportunity is not there, you got to make it for yourself. And life is kind of like a mixture of the two things.
Right, right. And you walk into it as you're being productive, right? So there's another one saying that some will, some won't, somehow, some way, somebody else will. You see what I'm saying? SW, right? And it's just about, you know what I mean, never giving up and just always, you know, realizing that if you can't create the opportunity, it's knowing when to step back, be still until something happens. Well, nothing's happening here, then step it back up and seeking an opportunity again. It's just a process, you know what I mean? It's a process of just don't stop strategically thinking until you get what it is that you need. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, thank you so much. I appreciate you sitting down with me today. And, you know, I hope this reaches some people and they find some, you know, some encouragement from it. So thank you so much, Ty.
Appreciate it.